The Grade 1 Gamely, a mile and an eighth for older fillies and mares on the turf. There was already big news before this race started with the scratch of Uni for Chad Brown. Should she come over here, she would have been the favorite come post time. Unfortunately, she got ill and Chad had to stop on her. That left you with a field of 7. Favoritism landed on Hawksmoor shipping in from the East Coast. A little bit of a disappointing seasonal debut for Hawksmoor at Laurel, defeated as a 1-5 favorite, but it really felt like it was nothing more than a means to an end to get to a spot like this or somewhere else. But again, the complexion of the race changed entirely from the break when Hawksmoor missed it as bad as she did. That left us with Madam Stripes on the front end and a host of others in pursuit. Here's Michael Ronan with the stretch run.
Hawksmoor, and then comes Madam Dance-A-Lot. At the rear is Beau Recall. 3/16 to go. Madame Stripes, the leader from Sophie P. Madam Dance-A-Lot finishing strongly on the inside. Then Midnight Crossing. No sign of Hawksmoor. Beau Recall makes late headway. Madame Stripes just in front, tackled by Sophie P. and Madam Dance-A-Lot. They go to the line. It's close. Sophie P. or Madam Dance-A-Lot.
3 noses on the wire. And ultimately, Sophie P. gets the job done at 14-1 odds. A very impressive effort here. Great ride from Kent DeSormo. She wins. Madam Dance-A-Lot. What else is there to say? She fires almost each and every time. Beautiful trip. Perfect ride up the inside from Corey Nakatani. Unfortunately, just missed out on the bob, finishing second in odds of 4-1. And Madam Stripes, the pace setter. She really, in my opinion, ran too well to lose. You have to feel for the connections a little bit. A big effort from her. Good ride from Bejarano. She finishes third at odds of 10-1, rounding out your trifecta that came back for 50 cents, $209.50. Let's talk a little bit more about the winner, shall we? Sophie P. At this point, she's a 5-year-old mare. This is her first Grade 1 victory. And she'd come over here and run 2 starts back in the Royal Heroine to no avail. She needed a race more likely than not. They come here. She's now 5 of 21 lifetime, over $256,000 in career earnings, owned by DP Racing, trained by Jim Cassidy, bred by Newhall Stud in Great Britain. You can see Kent DeSormo with the ride. Again, a very, very patient ride, timed it very well. Everything worked out nicely. She is by Bush Ranger out of Giants Causeway mare named Fountains Abbey. Now, here comes the sort of downside of this Grade 1 effort. 91 Beyer speed figure, 121 Timeform US rating. Both of those figs a little bit on the light side. Now, I've brought up in the past, Peter Thomas Fornatal has brought up that there's some sort, you can make a bit of a comparison between the Timeform US rating and the Beyer speed figure. I believe Eric Bialik is also involved in a very rough, very, very rough sort of comparison, where it's right around 20 points south of what the Timeform US rating would be comparable for the Beyer. If that's the case, then perhaps the Beyer's a little bit on the light side. I don't believe it is in an instance like this. For what it's worth, Timeform US had every fraction color-coded red, meaning that it was helping horses coming from slightly off of it, including the likes of Sophie P., including the likes of Madam Dance-A-Lot, working against horses like Madam Stripes. Beau Recall, look, when you're that far back, when you're spotting Madam Dance-A-Lot 5 lengths, you're going to have to finish like an absolute house of fire. I don't know if that was her just being a little bit reluctant early or the instructions were to save that late run, but I'll tell you what, they would have needed to go 44 for her to have any chance to win this race. She somehow runs 4th in here. Sophie P., the tactical ability, that really allowed her to get into a good position. And again, Kent DeSormo timed everything very, very well. And look, frankly, everybody involved said that they were a little bit lucky to win the bob, but that's what a head bob is. It's luck. It's ultimately who gets a nose down. Madam Dance-A-Lot, you feel bad for her, but at the same time, she had everything go her way. The pace, although they have it listed as fast, I don't think it was just off the charts fast. You see 23 and 4, 47, 1, 11 and 2. I kind of feel like that between the second and third quarter, things heated up a little bit, but really, you can't complain when you come from so far out of it and you ride the wood right through. Madam Stripes, I thought she ran a bang-up race. I thought it was a great ride from Bejarano. She was loving life on the front end. She actually earned the highest Timeform US rating in this field, running 3rd, which is a little bit odd, but again, the pace is factored in for the Timeform US ratings. She earned a 123 and only a 90 Beyer, so something to keep in mind going forward. I think Madam Stripes ran a bang-up race. I think Sophie P. ran a very good race. She had everything work out for her, and it was a good tactical ride. I think Madam Dance-A-Lot ran a really, really strong race. Nice to see her get back into good form after that dull effort at Churchill, but I'm going to just draw a line through that because of the surface. Another horse that, again, you need to just draw a line, 2 other horses in this race, draw a line through this race. Hawksmoor with the start. Now, the concern there is, and Leparoux talked about it afterward, he didn't know if it was starting on the dirt or what, but she stumbled badly, and we've seen in the past the dirt footing, it can break from underneath horses as they get ready to go and pounce out of the gate, but now, let's call a spade a spade. She's 5 years old. We've talked about it in the past, when horses get a little bit reluctant or they don't show the interest that they once did coming out of the gate, that could be a sign of them tailing off form. And she's 5 years old. And you got to wonder, is she starting to go the opposite direction? This isn't the race that you want to make that decision on, but it's something that if you factor this in with what you saw in the Dahlia at Laurel in her comeback effort, where she's supposed to win that race and she doesn't, maybe you want to think about where she stacks up. But it'll be interesting to see where she shows up next, because there's a scenario where if you still believe, you could get a decent price on her. The other horse that you just want to draw a line through this race is Mopatism. Mopatism clearly is not a turf horse. I think the Connections just probably took a shot knowing that all the big girls are still on the dirt and you're not quite as good as they are, so you want to find out if you can run on turf. This is a resounding no. She cannot. And I'm sure they'll go back to the dirt with her. But Sophie P, hats off. She's now a Grade 1 winner. She gets the job done for Jim Cassidy and company. 91 buyer, 121 time form U.S. rating. It sounds like next is either one of the two races out at Del Mar or possibly a trip to Saratoga or Arlington over the summer.